So most people step in the ring and they think it's all about the fists. You know, they think the strongest fighter is the one who punches the hardest. You know, that's the typical thought. The toughest fighters in reality are the ones, at least with the guys I've trained, they're the ones who didn't win with their punches, but they won with their minds. Okay, so I'm going to show you a couple of drills, 5 to be exact. You know, these are the drills that I use to build real mental toughness, not just in the muscle. All right, so let's get into it. Okay, so first of all, my name is Boaz Gregory. I'm a boxing coach. I'm a teacher. I'm a boxer, and I'm also a trainer. Okay, so the idea is I help people build strength, discipline, focus, you know, inside the ring, outside the ring, in the classroom. You know, if you want to be a smarter fighter, not just hit harder, or, you know, you go ahead and hit the subscription button, okay? So I post new videos. You know, I want to try to do it every week. Practical drills that are going to train both your body and really your mindset is the most important aspect. You know, that's what I want to focus on. You know, if you want to train your body, then reach out and we'll get you in the gym. All right, so here are the 5 drills that'll help sharpen these are going to help sharpen your mental game. All right, so when it comes to shadow boxing, that's going to be one of your most important drills. Okay, that's your first drill. All right, you want to do it with focus cues. All right, this isn't about looking flashy. It's about being intentional with every movement. Okay, so when you think about bursts of punches, it's not just to look cool. Okay, the way it works is you shadow box in rounds, but with 2 key rules. All right, first, you know, stay away of your breathing. You know, make sure you're aware of how you're breathing. Every single punch should sound that way. Second, you're going to visualize your opponent in real time. Every time I'm shadow boxing, there's a person right there that I'm fighting. Okay, where are they moving? How are you responding to where they're moving? All right, this forces your brain to stay engaged, not just your muscles. It teaches you to stay, it teaches you to think ahead. You know, you want to stay calm, you want to stay sharp, even when you're tired, especially when you're tired. Okay, that's where your breathing comes in. Every punch should be a breath, even when you're not tired. That's how you keep the tiredness into the future. All right, the next drill is going to be controlled sparring. You know, you're going to do that for a couple rounds. This is drill number 2, okay? Controlled sparring. This isn't full-on fighting. It's short, intense bursts, okay? With full control. All right, you go for 30 seconds of focused sparring, then pause for a mental rest. All right, that's going all out. 30 seconds. You know, you ask yourself, what did I do well? What can I change in the next round? Okay, even when you're sparring with another person, that's how you should be thinking, in all honesty. You shouldn't just be getting in there to survive or to kick someone's butt. That's all great. That's going to happen as a result of all this anyways. All right, so this is the stop and reset method, okay? Build self-awareness under pressure, which is where the real mental toughness comes from, all right? And the mental toughness is everything. Now your third drill, that's going to be your goal-driven jumping rope, all right? Goal-driven jumping rope, this is where you're going to bring, this is where we bring stress into simple movement, all right? Set a number challenge, like let's say 500 skips without stopping. You stick to it. This is going to be more the beginner side, in all honesty, because you should be doing more complex movements if you're pretty advanced anyways, even with the jump rope. All right, the goal isn't speed, it's mental and consistent. You know, if you're really advanced, that's where you're gonna get the doubling out and getting crazy with the foot movement with the rope. All right, the moment your mind says quit, you breathe, reset, and keep going. Okay, you should even be breathing when you're jumping rope. That's what I do. You know, right in there. Simple, brutal, effective. All right, drill number 4 is gonna be visualizing before training or sleep. All right. Drill 4, that's visualization, okay? So, before your next training session or even before bed, close your eyes and, you know, walk through your fight, okay? There's always an opponent. I don't care if you're actually going to fight or not. You should always have an opponent that you're imagining, okay? Visualize the walk-in, the first punch, the rhythm of the round. This isn't a fantasy. Okay, I'm not teaching people to fantasize per se, but you want to think about how would you move if things go wrong? How would you recover? Okay, this primes your brain to stay composed under pressure. One of the things I work with one of my guys on is he needs to practice moving around when he's getting tired. Okay, so he's not getting hit. One of the most powerful mental tools a fighter can use is visualizing. Okay, so you want to make that your best friend. Most people do ignore that, so don't be one of them. All right, breathing control between rounds. Okay, that is huge. Okay, when you're sitting on that stool, it honestly feels like you just blinked and then you're standing back up. But you want to try to control your breathing in between those rounds. So even when you're practicing, your nervous system doesn't reset on its own. You have to train it to do that. Between the rounds, between the sets, you can sit or stand, and the idea is to focus on your breathing. Okay, in for 4 seconds, hold for 4, and then out for 4. Okay, this tells your body we're not in panic mode, we're still in control. I even do this before I speak in front of a lot of people. I breathe. And you can feel that oxygen getting into your blood. All right, so mastering your breath is how you stay dangerous, even when you're tired. Okay, so the thing that you need to do is you gotta pick one of these drills and you try it out this week. Just one. Especially if you're just a beginner, you don't have to go too crazy with it. Start out slow, and you're gonna come back here and you're gonna comment. All right, which one of these challenges you're focused the most? All right, what'd you struggle with? What about it made you struggle? Try to identify your pain points. All right, if you want more drills like these, the mental, the physical, and everything in between, make sure you subscribe. Okay, I'm gonna try to be more consistent this time around. I'm not gonna try. I'm gonna do it. Once I say I'm gonna do something, it's gonna happen. That's why I'm reluctant to say that, but you are hearing it here. I'm gonna do it. Okay, we've got more coming every week. Train smart, stay sharp. I'm Boaz Gregory, and wait for the next one.